So we are midday now, and we have a very exciting topic here, AI regulation. I have to say, unfortunately, our member from the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs could not make it because that also brings us to AI regulation. The AI regulation in Germany is now kind of, and I hope I don't say anything wrong because I'm not the expert, you are the experts. It's kind of split into two. There will be like the digital ministry, which is coming up now, and still the Ministry of Ministry of Economic Affairs. And because of this whole reshuffling, we recently had an election. She couldn't come because there's a lot of meetings. But I have a lot of other experts here. Maybe you can all introduce yourself, starting with you.
Hello, I'm Anja Kathman. I work for the German Collecting Society or Collective Management Organization GEMA. I don't know if you know GEMA. I work there in the public affairs team, so then I will explain. GEMA is an association. It's got 98,000 members. Our members are composers, lyricists, and music publishers. And we also represent like 2 million rights holders all over the world. It is one of the biggest authors societies in the world. And before that, I was working for the music industry. And before that, I was working for label, for TDI Music, for the German supergroup Tangerine Dream. And I'm trained in economics.
Actually, so the revenue of GEMA, how much is that?
It's over 1 million.
1 billion.
Billion.
Yeah, 1 billion. So it's quite huge, just to give you an idea. In music, 1 billion, that's sizable, I would say, right? So, yeah, we come to you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Katharina Uppenbrink, and I'm the managing director of the so-called Initiative Urheberrecht. It's the Authors' Rights Initiative. And we represent, through our about 40 unions and guilds, 140,000 performers and authors. So all of you, or most of you, I guess. We represent not only musicians and composers, and we also represent people from the arts and literature and journalism and the stage, actors, singers, whatever you can think about concerning IP law or copyright law. And as we say, it's authors' rights, because there is a slight difference between the American or Anglo-Saxon copyright and the author's rights, but for reasons of keeping it simpler, I think we'll talk about copyright, right? The lawyer is sitting right next to me. I used to work for the Screenwriters Guild of Germany. We also did quite a lot of work in Brussels. We built umbrella organizations for all the guilds in Brussels as a European representative, and before that I worked in publishing. So I switched sides, and I'm able to calculate and know how businesses run. But I think that's it for the minute.
Now to the lawyer.
Hi, I'm Dennis from Berlin. I'm an attorney for 10 years now. I specialize in intellectual property and media with a focus on the entertainment industry. We are a law firm with 80 lawyers, with offices in Berlin, Munich, and Frankfurt. I find artificial intelligence fascinating, not only as a technology, but also from a legal perspective, because it's quite new and you have some rules which apply, which are real AI rules, but a lot of rules which were not made for AI, and you have to come up with creative solutions for clients now. So I really like that.
Well, so yeah, the EU AI Act, it's a big topic, and we have talked about it already before a lot, but where are we with it now? I mean, what's the current status, and what is there to expect in the next months, I would say, or maybe years? Who wants to take this topic?
Well, the AI Act is a European Union regulation. It's got into force last year, and actually what's interesting about this is a product regulation. So it should make clear that AI, which is used in the European Union, doesn't harm anybody. And we are talking about authors' rights and copyright today. And actually, it says that copyright applies, and it's not a different regulation for copyright on it, but there are still some questions that we are still talking about, and I think we will get deeper into this, because when you like to apply copyright, you will need transparency on what is used in the machines. So the AI companies need to state what they are using, what kind of material they are ingesting, and this is necessary to enforce copyrights. And this is where we're standing at the moment, I think. There is going to be a template which is to be done by the European Union, and this template will say what is so-called sufficiently detailed summary that AI companies are providing needs to entail. And this is actually a big discussion, what's going to be there. And also I think we will dive into some further details, but maybe that's it for the moment. Would like maybe Katharina or Dennis to take on here.
Okay, thank you, Anja. Yes, there is this AI Act, and we're really glad that in the last minute a few sentences about, as Anja said, transparency, for example, were added. And copyright is mentioned, and as Dennis said, we have to deal with the situation that there is copyright. Copyright is national in Europe, but more and more it is regulated by European directives and acts. We have to, we could go into more detail about what happened concerning the so-called DSM directive. It's the Copyright Law Directive from 2019. In it, text and data mining is mentioned, and the new act, the AI Act, states that these TDM exceptions apply to the situation. We say, and we conducted a study done by a lawyer and an AI scientist, that it actually does not apply. So we have a very difficult situation that part of the new AI Act might not be the right way to deal with the situation. At the same time, we have the Commission, especially the AI Office, in a way of implementing the AI Act and dealing with questions like the template Anja mentioned and other ways to make sure that transparency is possible. There are about 1,000 experts dealing with some of these guidelines, or the code of practice as it is called, and there are serious problems concerning the right way to make sure that the AI firms do what they are supposed to do, inform the rights holders how the machines train, which means how which works and which data is used to, this is the so-called input. And we have the serious problem that for the last 10 years, every song, every book, every film that was online available has been collected without the authors or the rights holders being asked. So we are dealing with history of the last 10 years. We are dealing with an act that might apply, and we are dealing with a dynamic which has never seen before. And I think maybe you would like to add something.
last week I had a conversation with a manager of a musician in a bar, and he told me that he's absolutely convinced that AI will take over the world and destroy mankind. And it was not just paranoid, he also referred to theories of Stephen Hawking and so on. And first I tried to tell him that, look, Arnie is still there and he's in good shape, and at any time we can get the Terminator out, so you can calm down. It didn't help a lot. And then I thought it's a good opportunity to tell him something about the AI Act of the EU, which is about making AI safe. The general approach of the European Union is actually that AI is a good thing, it's a very good technology, and we can achieve a lot with that, but you need to have trustworthy AI. There are indeed, polls show this, a lot of people who are very reluctant when it comes to the usage of AI. I think like a third of the population has not even used ChatGPT once, maybe even more. So the EU wants to foster innovation in the AI sector by making it safe. And for that you need secure AI technology tools, but also transparency. And from an IP perspective, there are mainly two rules in the AI Act which are relevant. One is related to deepfakes. People have to know that what they see is AI. And the other one is about information, what kind of copyright works have actually been used. And that provision might be an effective tool for authors to find out what has been used. But this provision is not entirely clear, and you actually need lawsuits to find out what kind of works have been used.
So actually, Dennis, we had this conversation at the GEMA Wise AI Music Summit on this Monday with our friend François Pachet, who would now say, well, this all is just wishful thinking. You know, how can you make AI safe, and like, you know, how can we even like, you know, make sure that, you know, from the copyright holder's perspective, all that has been stolen will actually be remunerated, because it has already been stolen. So how would you answer that from a, I don't know, from a legal perspective or from a whatever perspective? It doesn't even need to be legal.
That actually depends on who my client is. If I had to represent an AI company, I would say, look, AI is like a human brain, and if a human musician is inspired by something, by works, because he listens to it, and then he produces something which is different from the input, that is actually not a copyright infringement, because copyright protects concrete works, but not ideas or abstract concepts or styles. So one could argue that, well, if you want to limit that, you would prevent progress of mankind. On the other hand, if I had to represent an author, I would say that no, AI is not like the human brain. It goes far beyond that. It has access to the knowledge of the whole world. And when you feed AI, it actually means that from a technological perspective, you are reproducing the works. So it is actually copying. And you can only make money because you're copying a lot. So authors should have their fair share. So there are two ways of looking at it.
Okay, I mean, it's pretty clear how Anja and Katharina are looking at this, but it's good to know, like, you know, both sides, I guess. I'm, you know, just for the record, I'm also pro-copyright here, but yeah, I mean, you know, I think as I said in my beginning speech, you know, we live in a new world. So, like, I mean, what's your perspective on it? How can we ensure that these laws, you know, that let's say the argument wins? That is your argument, basically, or our argument.
I think there's an easy solution, and the solution is a license. So GEMA is offering a license for Gen AI products, and this is a proper solution to balance this out, because if the authors, if the creators are fairly compensated, so then I think it's okay that AI is going to thrive. And we have done a study together with our sister society in France, the SESAM, and we found out that already many of our members are using AI. It was like 36% were already using AI tools. And of course you have to divide between AI tools and generative artificial intelligence. But of course they are open to this new technology, and it's not that they are rejecting it. And if you go to younger people, it's for everybody under 35, it's already 51% were using it. So I think the musicians and authors, they are very open for this new technology, and they would like to use the tools, they would like to be inspired by them, but also they would like to be compensated, and this is absolutely necessary. I mean, you have to think about it. There is a technology, and if you hadn't the human work put in, the creative work, what would have happened? There was nothing that would have happened. A musician, if he or she hadn't AI, what can she or he do? They can still write songs, they can give concerts, and they can make a living, but the machine, the AI, can't do anything without the training. So I think it's absolutely necessary that there is a fair compensation.
Okay, good. I mean, do you have anything to add to that, Katharina? Or, no?
Yeah, I think that politics have to have a closer look at the overall future of the whole creative industries. And we have to see that quite a lot of people have been substituted by AI already. And we as a society and as a nation and as Europe, we have to think about what kind of working places, working situations do we want and do we need. And saying that, this is also applying for areas like journalism, etc. So we as a democracy have to have a closer look at what is happening. And at the same time, as I'm saying, there are substitutions. But what happens? Who is doing it? Who are the big tech? They all are non-European. And do we want that? The European works are being used, the European private data as well, for companies that aren't even European. And I think, and we know that our governments have to make sure that in Brussels the compliance is being put in place. I mean, or that the laws that exist do apply for everyone using or working or selling products in Europe. Have I made that clear, or did I just lose the thought?
No, that's totally clear. I think, yeah.
I think it's really a thing. They are taking the works of the artists and creators, and they are ingesting it. And not only do they have products that they give to the market, they also have monthly fees they get from the users for some tools. And it's absolutely not fair if the creatives are not remunerated for that.
Right, and there is, as I said, much more regulation, even international one. There is the so-called Berne Convention, and there are several aspects of international or European law that apply already, and we have to make sure that they actually, that, as I said, everyone being in Europe is forced to apply.
We also, Monday, the same summit, we had this big discussion about like, and I asked this question like in the room full of like GEMA members, so can AI replace musicians? And that was very quiet, and everybody was like looking at each other. And then we found out actually, if we think about hit songs, let's say, right? Which great hit songs have been created by AI? And then, I think we had like 3 examples for that. One was this Beatles song, which was actually not really created by AI. It was still written by the Beatles, right? And then we had like, I think 2 others or something. And of course, so like, I mean, at least on that level, it doesn't seem to be that like AI has created amazing hit songs, at least not from what we know of, right? Because then this brings us to the next question a little bit. How can we even know that something is generated by AI? Is there a technical solution for it? Because, especially for GEMA, I guess, right? That is a very interesting question because, I mean, how do you know that the song that was like registered with GEMA is created by AI, for example?
Yeah, working on it, but actually there's nothing new to it when it comes to the AI, because we can never know. The members are registering their songs and they are stating that they have created it, and we have to believe it. And our members, when they are registering their works, they have to sign that they did it by themselves, or to state all the names and all rights holders who are involved in it, and then they can cross in if they used AI or not, and if it's all done by AI, it cannot be registered.
May I add that it's really very interesting to have a look at the GEMA website, because there you can see a lot of songs that were reproduced. And we're talking about copying, reproduction also when we're talking about the legal side. But I think it's really interesting how similar the songs are. And that was used for one of your court cases, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And, I already stated that we came up with a license, but the AI companies were reluctant to do that, and they were saying like they didn't use the repertoire or think that they can rely on other frameworks in other countries, and we're just waiting to see what is going to happen. And it was possible for us to prove that the chat robot ChatGPT of OpenAI reproduced lyrics from songs that were done by our members without a license. And this is where we took model action, which is a lawsuit here in Germany to prove or to clear some questions about how the AI should be regulated. And it was very similar, or it was even like one by one the same song. And you can all find information on that. And there's also a second lawsuit against Sunu AI, which is about the music, and also the reproduction of very similar songs applied there, and the melodies, the rhythm, and everything is very close. So this is a copyright infringement, and we did this to prove that the machines ingested the GEMA repertoire, and that our members need to be remunerated.
Maybe the question that you ask is worth thinking about further legislation. We talked about this before, and transparency is very important. At the moment, it's only compulsory to make clear when you have a deep fake. So if it's music only, that rule would not apply unless you have a human being showing up, like in a music clip. But maybe there is a need for more transparency, so that whenever you see music on, let's say, a streaming platform, that you as a listener actually know that it was created by AI. I mean, some are already doing that, but that is a form of self-regulation. It's not prescribed by legal rules so far. But yeah, maybe that is something where the legislator might act in the future.
Which is also kind of interesting, right? Because there was this discussion over an article by Virginie Berger, who's like an expert kind of on that that topic as well. And there were people like saying in the comments, well, why should people know that it is AI that is or is AI created? You know, for example, if we talk about music, like we could also say like live music, right? What is actually live music? Do people need to know that whatever Taylor Swift, let's say, I'm not sure if Taylor Swift, you know, sings live or 100% live or whatever, but there's definitely people out there that don't 100% like sing live, for example, or that do playback or whatever, and the people also don't know it, but still they enjoy the concert. I know this is like maybe a little bit of a different topic, but still, maybe it is still interesting why the consumer should know that.
Well, you can also argue that there's not a strong need for it, yeah, because it's a consumption of culture and it does not carry the danger of disinformation compared to deepfakes. But maybe there's a majority in the European Union, like of the citizens, who think that, well, I would actually like to know that if something is purely created by AI. But of course, you can discuss this. When it comes to electronic music, you could also say, well, it actually doesn't matter what kind of tools were used. To a certain degree, it's also artificial, so why do you have to be fully transparent? Yeah? But I personally think, in general, it would be helpful to know when AI is in front of you and you're confronted with AI. What the extent of that is can be discussed, but I think in general, it's good to be transparent.
I would like to add that, for example, a lot of bots that are used should be more transparent. Think about a lot of young people using therapy bots. I mean, it has to make sure, it has to be a prominent sign that these are not human-made or human information that is used or human advice. It's a machine that is just mixing lots of information, and you never know if it's really true what it's coming out in the end. So there are lots of areas, and if we come back to the creative and media industries, look at journalism, look at films, look at documentaries. Just today, a Danish colleague published an essay, and I would like to quote him. It's Johan Sedmar Brandstedt from Göteborg. Chatbot business is publishing business, only without the cost of inputs and liability for outputs. So there is a huge market using your work, all the work of the authors and performers, of the rights holders. And I know that right now we are fighting together with all the publishers and the production companies, because the market is in danger, and at the same time all these tech firms are using their works. So we do face a serious problem for society, for economy. So I wish Evelyn Gras was here, because it's not only about regulation of the tools itself. It's about regulation or the future of our European economy. And saying that, we have to make sure that everyone knows that what you do and we do is quite often innovation, because right now it seems to be a fight of the tech firms doing the innovators and being modern, and digitization is just the best, and that the creative industries are something a bit lame and a bit old-fashioned. But at the same time, they're using the works. So we have to make sure that the wording changes. And I'm always amazed by what's happening concerning digitization and new techniques, especially in the music business.
Okay, so we talked quite a bit about the EU now and the EU AI Act and what it means. What about legislation in other territories? I mean, maybe let's start with China a little bit, because we just talked about it outside. Maybe we can give this example of DeepSeek. What happened there? Who wants to do that?
Yeah, actually, the AI, the US American tech firms, they say that they don't need to pay the creators, actually, and they're not complying with the law. But actually, it happens that there is some competition in Chinese firms like DeepSeek, and they stole their system. And now they would like to rely on intellectual property. So if you steal from somebody, that's okay. But if you are the victim, then it's a totally different story. And this is what's funny about it. I think we have to see what's the framework we are living in. I think we have to see we are here in Europe, and what is the world we would like to create, and what would we like to live in, because we cannot regulate like Chinese or US American or other territories. Here we have to see, so what can we do, and how can we thrive, and how can we compete in this world. And I think copyright protection is very essential to this, because this culture and creative industry is really big. It's like the third biggest industry at all. It adds like 3.9% of value to the economic. It employs over 8 million people in the European Union. It's not like they are only artists and creators, but the whole industry is on that. They have partners. They have like in music, they have music publishers. They have other partners that are working for them, and it's really many people who are depending on this industry, and we need to fight for that. I think we have to think about what kind of world we would like to in it, and we should create it. And I think this is a really big market and will never be left out by these big tech companies from the US, because they want to make money here. And if they are bringing their product to our markets, they have to comply with our rules. So I think it is possible, and we can do it. And we have also have had other discussions before that. I don't know if you remember the battle of GEMA with YouTube. And in the end, they complied and got a license. So I think it's kind of that discussion again.
Interesting, but there's also this problem. I mean, if you look at China, even there, the big tech guys, are afraid of like they are getting stolen off. But what happens then when the input in China is not regulated, whatever, and it comes from, let's say, Europe, right? Because they have the same music there as we have here, and then that output comes back. I mean, from a legal perspective, how does that work, Dennis, for example? I mean,
that's challenging, because you would have to sue someone in China then, and the actual challenge is to first find out whether your works have been used or not. And we are facing the same challenge in the EU and the US. So that's why I'm really looking forward to the first judgments in the US, also in Germany, like the GEMA case against Zuno. Although there, for some reason, Zuno, to a certain extent, even admitted that they have used certain works. Let's see how other AI providers act in these kind of lawsuits, because it's not so easy to get that information. And the question is, to which extent a court will actually say, okay, this is an indication, and that's sufficient for me to assume that you have used the works, and they then obliged the AI companies to give even more details, so it can be thoroughly checked whether the works have been used or not. And that applies to all kinds of jurisdictions, also China, but then you have the practical challenge to enforce that in China.
Yeah, suing somebody in China sounds fun.
I would like to add something about the GEMA license. I don't know if you heard about it or if you've seen it on our website already. So this is a license with two components, and it licenses also the input, everything what's happening in the machine, and also the output. Because without it, you can never be sure that the output the machine is producing is not infringing copyright. You have to think this together. And the output is definitely, if a software is used here in Germany, it's the output is also created here in Germany, and then it's pretty clear that German law applies. And I think this is why a license is the solution. They cannot steal away with the idea from the training, which I think is also not true. But if you think this together, so nobody can shy away, and I think there can't be a free ride for AI companies in Europe.
Okay, so we looked at a little bit at the trickiness here, like China as well. How does it look in the US at the moment? I mean, there was quite big news recently that Shira Perlmutter, yeah, got kind of let go or probably be fired by Donald Trump personally. I'm not sure, like, or who else? Who was it exactly?
I don't know. Someone by someone in the administration.
Exactly. So yeah, maybe we give it a little bit of context what that means.
Shira Perlmutter was until Saturday afternoon the director of the U.S. Copyright Office, which is part of the Library of Congress. Their head was fired on Thursday. In between, on Friday, a report was published by the Copyright Office, which I think I haven't read it, just parts of it, but it's interesting because it states that at least partly the fair use clause is not to be
applicable.
She actually, well, it's not she, but like the whole office came to the conclusion that in certain situations the fair use clause does not apply. So training would be copyright infringement. That would be the conclusion, but only in some cases. That's why I am reluctant to believe that she was only fired because of that, but it's possible. Because the environment of the current administration, well, we know what kind of people there are, big tech billionaires. What's the interest? To get as much training data as possible, and they don't want to have any copyright restrictions. I'm just saying that I'm a bit surprised because it's not that the US Copyright Office said, look, fair use never applies. It was rather balanced approach. In addition to that, there are only guidelines. They are not legally binding. At the end, it would be up to the courts to decide whether there's fair use or not. But it could be that she was fired because of that.
Could be, but at least, I mean, there's, happening something at a daily basis right now. And there are, I think, up to almost 45 cases in the US. And we all hope for some more, dynamic now, which could be the course now. We'll see. But I would like to mention that in the United States, at least in some states, and I think about more than 20 or 30, there are regulations already. So it's not unregulated. It's just we're talking about the states regulation, which is being discussed. Or correct me if I'm wrong.
There's one more indication which speaks in favor of the administration not wanting any more regulation, because there's discussion in the Congress now about preventing the state legislators from adopting legislation about AI. If that actually leads to a ban of legislating on that, we will see, but it already indicates that there's a certain reluctance when it comes to more limitations of AI, and that is maybe not only because of economic interests, but maybe also because the US government is taking into account the competition with China, and China also does not care that much about copyright protection, but rather about political oversight. So in that regard, it could also be another reason why the US doesn't want any more restrictions on the use of AI.
Fascinating. Yeah, things are changing on a daily basis here, and it's quite dynamic, the whole field. It's very interesting. Before we get to some questions from the audience, so you have some time to think of them, if you have any, I would like to know from you, apart from copyright, is there anything about AI that you're especially excited about in the developments, or that you fear, because obviously there's a lot of things going on in the realm of copyright, in the realm of AI?
Well, so I am personally an optimist, and I kind of embrace all new technology, and I don't think that I'm affected that much, because I have to think about our members. And again, we had this GEMA system study, and I already stated that our members are partly using AI, but also they said that the risks outweigh the good things. So they are really afraid, and there's a lot at stake at the moment, as Katharina already said, because there are many people who are fearing to be replaced by AI kind of a bit, and there are also fields where this is to be expected very soon. And in this study was an economic study. It was said that 27% of the creators' royalty income will drop by 2028, 950 million, and for France and Germany together. So this is really a big thing, and this really
Wait a second.
close by.
Sorry, what was the number again? From where it drops to what?
So this the royalties that will drop in the next it was from last year, in the next 5 years, by 25%, the income of the two collecting societies. And they were carried out other studies on other fields, like for visual artists, and also our global Dachverband CISAG also did a study where they had very similar results for the whole world. So there's a lot of stake. Think about image films that are created for companies or something like that. It's not all like everybody is doing film music to a music film music for a film that is shown in the cinema. They have all bread and butter jobs, these small jobs, and these are going to fall apart shortly. So there's a lot at stake. But on the other hand, there's also very exciting new developments, like for instance the ABBA avatars in London, the Voyager. But I think this is a whole different story, because we all know that the artists are behind this. They created this, they want this, they invested in it, they earned from it. So this is a whole different story. I think the authors and creators, they need to be asked, and they need to give their consent. And if they consent, I think that's okay.
Let me add another C: consent and compensation. Right. I mean, if you work as a professional, you need to be compensated for the use of your works, and the labels, publishing houses, etc. as well. So I think there shouldn't be a question, and it's just up to the EU now to stand for that. I would like to add, yes, they are perfect tools and it can be very useful. We have to know, or we always have to ask if it's AI or if it's generative AI. There's a huge difference when it comes to our industries, but also to medicine, psychotherapy, whatever. Of course, there are really, really important things happening, right? In Europe, there are so many languages that are in danger, or dialects, or customs, etc. And it's very, very useful to help these languages, etc., to survive or to be still part of a nation's or Europe's wealth. So it's just one example. As I said, we are not condemning AI or generative AI, but especially concerning generative AI, one has to be really careful. Thank you.
I start with a negative. I am concerned about the misuse of AI emotion recognition software and biometric systems. Because that's a different degree of surveillance. And if I imagine that there's technology, like we have a camera here and I'm in the control room and I can say, the gentleman over there, what's his birth date? Or the lady over here, what's her address? And I have access to that information. That is really concerning. The AI Act is also saying something about that and has certain prohibitions, but yeah, I'm a bit afraid of that. On the other hand, I'm looking really forward to progress in the medical sector, to combine the knowledge of the world and maybe be able to cure diseases like cancer or Alzheimer, and maybe even find medicine, almost kind of like universal medicine, which can relieve human beings from any kind of pain. So that would be like the Star Trek scenario: you get medical treatment and someone just puts something on you and you're free of any pain. So yeah, that would be something positive.
Well, that's a fascinating discussion. Thank you all. We're running a little bit about time. Yeah, one question. Let's have one question. Okay. I'll just give you the microphone real quick, maybe.
Thank you very much for the lovely talk. This question is more for Anja. As we know, we're at a point in time where no matter how good the AI music, well, generative AI music is, and how believable it is to the human ear, we also are at a point where we can use a lot of state-of-the-art models to flag them as AI generated. I'm just curious to know about the inner workings of GEMA. Is it any kind of automatic way that GEMA is looking into at the present time, other than relying entirely on the human submission and writing of the artists in their submission to essentially flag it as AI generated? Or is it like completely, entirely relying on human trust? Thank you very much.
So GEMA has a so-called digital lab where they are testing all this kind of questions. You're asking if there is a possibility for recognition that a content is AI generated. And we're working together with academia, and unfortunately I cannot say more about it yet, but we're working on it, and also there are many processes inside GEMA that are automated with computers and of course with AI. So GEMA also uses AI for monitoring music and everything, so it's happening. But at the moment, I must say, it is still a thing that people have to be trusted, and it's also not a new thing that fraud may also happen. That somebody is registering work that he or she didn't write, so there are also compliance rules applying to that.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this fascinating discussion. A big applause for our speakers.